Real Virginia is produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Farming, it's all good. Visit our website at vafarmbureau.org.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all of the wonderful products we enjoy.
Genetically modified organisms have been in the news a lot recently. We'll learn why many farmers believe they're safe to use and eat. Winter is the perfect time to test your garden soil, and it's tough to start any new business, but young farmers say it can be extra difficult to get going in agriculture.
Welcome back everyone. Here's a question for you. How much of the foods you eat have been genetically modified? GMO foods are not altered in any way as far as nutritional composition is concerned, so why should these foods be labeled any differently in your local grocery store?
Foods that are genetically modified are common in today's society. Farmers and scientists alike have been altering DNA in plants since the dawn of agriculture. By selectively breeding plants and animals with the most desirable traits, our predecessors transformed a simple blade of grass into corn, for example. For the past 20 years, Americans have been eating plants in which scientists have used modern tools to insert a gene here or tweak a gene there, helping the crops tolerate drought and resist herbicides. Around 80% of processed foods in the U.S. contain genetically modified ingredients, as well as a lot of produce and dairy products. GMOs, genetically modified organisms, are crops that are bred at the DNA level to resist disease, herbicides, or drought. They help farmers grow more food at a lower cost.
One, it's because it increased productivity. We get a lot bigger yield, and it allows us to cut down on the amount of herbicide and pesticides we use.
Some American consumer groups believe foods containing GMOs should be labeled. Currently, 64 countries around the world require GMO labeling, but the FDA and Farm Bureau note that no studies of GMO-produced foods have been linked to any form of health or nutritional concern.
Before a food product actually reaches the market, it's researched and verified multiple times, and the safety of GMOs scientifically has never been called into question. There have been over 2,000 studies that have been done on GMOs to prove that they are safe for human consumption.
That's why the Virginia Farm Bureau opposes GMO label mandates. Those farmers believe such regulations would drive up food costs and needlessly scare consumers.
When they realize what they're asking and their food costs went up 20 or 30% just to have a label, then all of a sudden the light bulb would go off, but it would have gone off too late when they realized that. And they just don't realize how good they have it now and how safe the food really is in this country, whether it's organic or conventional.
What we do support is voluntary labeling. If you have a product that you feel is better or can get more market share because it says GMO free, we definitely see the marketplace moving in that direction, and that's a much more sustainable and it's going to have less cost passed on to the consumer if you do that voluntary labeling.
While GMO label legislation is pending in several states, the idea is only being informally discussed in Virginia. Some food companies and grocery chains are voluntarily labeling GMO products.
Genetically modified foods are easily found at any grocery store in the United States and the Western world. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, 93% of the soybean and cotton crops grown in the U.S. are GMO-based, and 86% of the domestic corn crop is also GMO. This is mostly because these crops were modified years ago to be resistant to the herbicide glyphosate, which is used to kill weeds, reduce production costs, and increase yields. Other GMO crops that are common in the U.S. include canola, sugar beets, and some milk products. All these modifications were done with the full approval of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Scientific tests have found no nutritional difference between conventional and GMO foods.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about soil testing and soil analysis. Please stay tuned.
We are at the top of the Shenandoah Valley in Winchester, Virginia. My grandparents started the farm in 1906. My dad started the dairy in 1948. I came back to the farm in 1977 to help my dad and my mom to run the farm, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me in my entire life. Shannon is my youngest daughter. Jackie is my oldest daughter. They have such wonderful work ethics. Shannon is my right-hand person here. She helps with the milking. If I need something, at the drop of a hat, she's here. It's so wonderful to have daughters that have that sense of responsibility, sense of country, sense of love for the farm, and I know they will always be here to carry it on. I'm Kitty Huckman-Nicholas, and I'm dedicated to dairy, my cows, my milk, and my land.
Winter is the perfect time to do soil testing to make sure you're ready for your spring gardens. Chris Mullins shows us how from the ground up.
Hi, and welcome to Virginia State University's Randolph Farm. Today we're going to be talking about soil testing and soil fertility. Now, this time of the year, it's cold outside. There's not a lot you can do in terms of your garden, except for planting maybe. But this is something, soil testing, that you don't really think about doing a lot. Most home gardeners don't do it, but it can be something very good to do. The elements, the nutrients, the minerals that are in the soil are very important for plant growth. So it's a good idea 3 or 4 months before you plant to be able to get a soil test done and be able to look and see what kind of nutrients are in the soil and see if you do need to amend them and how. And this makes you a good steward of the land too, if you think about it. You don't want to over-apply fertilizer, but you also don't want to under-apply. You just want to make sure you've got the right amount for your plants. Also, if you do that this time of the year, you kind of know what you're going to have to budget for. If you're going to have to buy extra fertilizer or a little bit of lime or some other amendments, this will get you in that planning stage. Now, this is something that can be done through private labs or through the Cooperative Extension Service. All the county extension offices will be able to help you with this. And you can send, in Virginia, you can send a sample in a box like this off to Virginia Tech, and in about a week's time you'll get an analysis back. It's really not that expensive. It's really cheap as dirt. We have a shovel here that we're going to use. When you're thinking about the shovel to use, make sure it's one that you haven't really had in a lot of fertilizer or mixed manure with, and if so, clean it off very well, because that can change the results of your analysis there. You also want a bucket that you're going to sample into, and you want that to be clean and dry, and you don't want it to have been something that you've carried fertilizer around in, because that could change the results. Maybe a spade, a trowel maybe that you can use, and you've got a sampling box like we talked about before. So I've kind of pre-dug a little wedge in this ground here. I'm going to pick that out of the ground. And then I want to take a slice of this from the inside with this shovel. That's going to go down about 6 or 8 inches down. That's the area that you want to sample for your vegetable garden. And when this comes up, you're going to have a wedge that's about 2 inches deep, about this shovel width, and about 8 inches down. Now what we want to do is cut off the top part where the grass is, where the roots are. We don't want that as part of our sample, and we want to remove that grass material out of there, maybe a little bit off the sides. But we've got a nice profile now of what the soil would look like, and this can be taken to the lab and analyzed pretty easily. We're going to put this in the bucket, and for a small garden, you want to sample several places within the garden. And then you want to put all those samples, like we just did, in this bucket, and you want to blend that soil together. Mix it up, get it blended, so that you have an accurate representation of the whole area that you're going to be gardening. So then, once it's all blended up, and you get it all mixed up together, you'll take that material, and you'll fill this box with it. This is the box that you get. You close it up, and you can send this along with a form to the soil testing lab. That form will tell the people at the lab what was grown here last year and what you're planning to grow for this year. It'll identify this sample as a unique sample for you, and then you'll get your analysis. Okay, so you've got your analysis, your lab report back from the lab, and it is a lab analysis chemical report. It can be very confusing, but it really shouldn't be. And you can always talk to your master gardener at your local county extension office or the agent there. They'll give you a hand interpreting this. One of the things you want to look at is pH on here. pH is so important for how all the other elements are taken up by plants. On here it will tell you what your pH is, and they'll use the buffering capacity also to give you a recommendation about what amendments to add to either raise or lower the pH. The other thing is you'll see levels of elements, calcium, potassium, phosphorus, for example, and they will make recommendations on here based on what you have told them you're going to grow. They'll make recommendations about how much to put out, usually how much nitrogen to put out also, based on what those crops need. So that's something to think about there. It's real important when you get these numbers to kind of have an idea of how big your garden plot is going to be and to measure that and really know, so that when you do those calculations, when you're adding that certain amount of nitrogen or lime to an area, you know how big that area is. Well, again, for more information about analyzing these results or about soil testing, contact your local county extension office. From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins. We'll see you next time.
How does your family deal with chicken dinner leftovers? Carissa Jackson shows us how to make traditional chicken salad in the heart of the home. Stay with us.
Horses, dogs, food, and fun. It's all coming March 27th to the 29th at the Virginia Horse Festival at the Meadow. Experience 3 days of equestrian and family-friendly activities. Shop vendors selling trailers, boots, barns, and food. Watch the Central Virginia Agility Club show off their canines expertise. Attend clinics, demonstrations, and seminars. Cheer on the Extreme Mustang Makeover East Coast Finals. And don't miss the Parade of Breeds. Learn more at virginiahorsefestival.com. It's the Virginia Horse Festival at Meadow Event Park. Don't miss it. For several decades, chicken has been the top farm commodity in Virginia. When baked or broiled, chicken is a low-fat source of protein. It's also rich in vitamins and minerals needed for healthy muscle. While a few pasture-raised chickens are available, the great majority of chickens are raised in poultry houses scattered across the state. Many of them are concentrated in the Shenandoah Valley, where the business of poultry integration actually began. Others can be found from Southside Virginia to the Eastern Shore. Farmers typically sign contracts with poultry companies to raise the birds from chicks to full size when they are shipped to several plants in the state and processed into chicken breasts, parts, or nuggets. More than 38 million chickens are raised on almost 500 farms across the Old Dominion, generating more than $653 million in income for the state's economy.
A lot of times people will make chicken salad out of leftovers, but with a recipe this good, Miss America 2010 Carissa Jackson says, why not try it tonight in the heart of the home?
Hi, I'm Carissa Jackson for Heart of the Home. I'm here at the kitchen at the Meadow Event Park. Today we're going to be making a traditional chicken salad. All throughout the year we roast chickens, and sometimes we have a lot of pieces left over, and what we don't want to do is eat chicken day after day after day the same way. So there's a couple of things that you can do. You can take the chicken and you can freeze it in a freezer safe Ziploc bag, and you can pull it out anytime. Or if you do want to eat it another day, we can do it a different way, something similar to this chicken salad. So what we're going to do right now is start off with 2 cups of shredded chicken breast. And just to show you how this will work, I have 2 pieces here. It's really easy for you to shred. You want to go against the grain first, and then with the grain, and it just starts to peel right off. If you have a food processor, you can cut down on this step. Sometimes really good blenders also work well. You don't want to grate it too fine because you don't want it to be really grainy. You want thick pieces of chicken in your chicken salad. I'll put this over in our bowl. Some of the other ingredients I have with me are a 1/2 cup of pecans, 1 cup of dried cranberries. In our house, it's a big debate on whether cranberries or grapes are better. You can really do it interchangeably depending on what time of year it is. I'm also using Miracle Whip, though some people in the South feel like that's a cuss word and you're only supposed to use Duke mayonnaise, but that's your business. You can also trade that out as well. I am using a 1/2 cup of milk and a 1/2 cup of plain Greek yogurt because the consistency of the yogurt makes it a little thicker, so you don't have to worry about having a soupy mixture before you put it in the refrigerator. This cuts down on you having to wait so long. You can serve it immediately this way if you substitute a 1/2 of your cup of milk for some cranberry yogurt. Then I've also added just a little bit of sugar to taste. Some people like for their chicken salad to be a little sweeter. I'm one of those people. I do the same thing with my tuna salad. I always add a little bit of sugar. So we will start off with the rest of our chicken. And the first thing we're gonna add is our mayo. Then our yogurt. And a little bit of salt and pepper. And the great thing about a recipe like chicken salad is that you can add or subtract as much of it as you like, depending on what you want your consistency to be, how many people you're feeding, or what you like more of. So if you want more than a cup of cranberries or more than a cup of grapes, you can do so. And now we're gonna add 1/4 cup of milk, not the whole thing, because there's a possibility that you won't need all of the 1/2 cup of the milk. Milk is one of those things that you want to mix in a little bit at a time, because if you go ahead and dump it all over in there, there's a possibility that it could become more soupy than you would like. So just gradually keep adding the milk as you add other ingredients. I am now going to add my cranberries and my pecans. I added the pecans and the cranberries towards the end of the recipe, mainly because I like for my pecans to keep their crunchiness, and I like for my cranberries not to get too soggy. So this is something that you can either do right before you serve immediately, or if you choose to refrigerate this recipe, what you would want to do is you would want to put the pecans and the cranberries in right before you serve. So if you're going to go ahead and refrigerate it, do that, and then take it out, mix it up, and then it'll be ready to serve. And now I'm going to add about a tablespoon of sugar and just a little bit more of my milk. All right, so our chicken salad is ready. Chicken is one of the top 10 farm-produced products in Virginia, so you can find fresh chicken any time of year, and it's always delicious. I like to serve my chicken salad with some whole wheat Ritz crackers, but you can also serve it with a hot buttered croissant, which is also really yummy, or you can just eat it with a fork. So here you have it, chicken salad. I'm Caressa Jackson for Heart of the Home. Come and get it.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafarmbureau.org.
We all want healthy rivers and streams, but we can't do that without help from Virginia's landowners. Resource Management Plans, or RMPs, are part of a voluntary program that helps farmers get credit for cleaning up our waters. And once you have an RMP, you are exempt from any new water quality requirements for 9 years. The Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation has funds available to help you implement these plans. Contact the department today to learn more. Thank you.
This message sponsored by Virginia's agriculture community.
High land prices and low farm prices are all challenges facing today's young farm families. And as Dave Miller reports, then there's the weather. But there are some young farmers who are sticking it out, though, and making sure that they carry on the tradition and lifestyle.
Jason Thurman is a third-generation farmer in Franklin County, Virginia. He and his family raise about 200 purebred Angus beef cows a year. They also breed their own bloodline of high-quality bulls, and Jason works off the farm as an electrician. He's dealing with the issues that face most young farmers and has first-hand knowledge of the challenges they face.
For me trying to get into farming, starting a family, that kind of deal, one of the biggest challenges is money. It's going out here trying to find somebody that will loan us money to buy land. Equipment is getting expensive to buy equipment, buy cattle, right? The cattle prices being where it's at, you go out here and try to talk to a loan officer about buying $100,000 worth of cows or something like that is real hard for a young person getting started.
But with an aging rural population, change is coming to Virginia agriculture fast. The Virginia Farm Bureau, Young Farmers Committee, the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, and Virginia Cooperative Extension are working together to offer a number of programs to help young farmers get a foothold in the industry. Thurman believes there's real opportunity for the next generation of farmers.
Cattle prices are high, the corn prices are falling, but I do think it's some new opportunities coming in the south side and southwest Virginia. They're talking about putting in some chicken houses here. A lot of farmland are going to turn over here real soon that young people, if they can get out here and get some experience, may have opportunity to pick up some land and that kind of deal.
Will Roberts of Pittsylvania County is a good friend of Thurman, who runs a cattle operation of more than 350 head, as well as running a full-service fencing company. He was homeschooled on his family farm, but is now a first-generation farmer on his own. Will says the business opportunities for young farmers are amazing, but that it's not for the faint-hearted. The freedom to shift his workday around is what attracts him to farming.
Being able, if one of my grandparents or one of my parents is sick and I need to go tend to them, or you got a cow at this farm sick, or you need to run to this project, take this, I'm able to do that. So that means as much as any financial number doesn't really touch my freedom. Probably the biggest challenge for me right now would be a little different from Jason. I'm having a hard time with the health care. It's really bending me over backwards. So being able to afford health care on my own.
Both men agree that the top three challenges for young farmers are money, land, and health care. But they also agree that if you know where to look, there are opportunities to get into farming. Thurman suggests working for a bigger farm or a neighboring farm to get that experience. Ferrum College is right up the road from him, and it offers agricultural internships to ag majors, another way to get started.
We work tight with the Farm Bureau. I am the county president here in Franklin County. They give us some good ideas, and the young farmers, we do a lot of summer expo, winter expos, trying to get ideas, certified farm seekers. So we try to do some workshops to try to develop new ideas and get people together to meet people and see what other young people are doing.
Roberts says he thinks it's wise for a beginning farmer to gain experience before expanding. He started with a small breeding herd of 6 cows, which he still has. Other advice from this young farmer is to use your common sense and not get too far into debt up front. And there are new possibilities for farmers interested in contract production.
There is a great opportunity right now on the south side for a man to get started. If putting in a poultry operation or a hog operation and getting some of that capital outlay, where some of the lending entities sees that some of this revenue will be coming back in via contracts, maybe that's how you start your operating line to start your own business.
Both men believe nothing beats the farming lifestyle if you love the outdoors and want to be your own boss, and there are many creative ways to get things going. It all starts with a conversation. Reach out to other young farmers in your area. They'll steer you right. In Franklin County, Virginia, this is Dave Miller reporting.
That's going to do it for this edition of Real Virginia. We're so glad you could join us to celebrate the bounty Virginia has to offer. Whether it's in your home, your garden, or your landscape, we're proud to say that this is Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia.